The world turns, and with each turn, a change. And each change makes it more complex, unpredictable, enigmatic. The world keeps turning. And from the Pellicer and Heredia practice, we anticipate everything that is going to happen. Brexit, artificial intelligence, new commercial borders, legal tech. The world keeps turning, and it commands the reliance on international lawyers who are capable of interpreting this new reality with integrity, honesty, and transparency, offering answers to so many new questions. Whatever it is, ask us. At Pellicer and Heredia, we know how.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Very pleased to have many specialists on the panel. And today we're going to talk about the 720. 720 form, which is an assets declaration around the world, over 50,000 euros. And we will cover now what it is, who applies for, etc., etc. Let me start introducing here. I've got on my right, I have Pedro Heredia. Hello, Pedro.
Hello, Ignacio. Hello, everyone.
Then, as a lawyer, very reputable in Andalusia, we've got Michael Davies. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Ignacio. Hello, everyone.
And we thought it would be interesting to bring independent financial advisors. We've got John and Nicole from Chase Buchanan. Hello, you both.
Hi, everyone.
Right. Basically, what we're trying to give today is a bit of advice about who needs to do the 720, when is applicable, what are the blocks that you should look into it, etc., etc. We'll discuss a little bit later on about the implications of that. Pedro might explain to us a little bit on the normal visa side, because we're having a lot of questions. And I'm going to pass over to Pedro to explain to us what is a 720, what blocks are need to be considered. Later on, we'll speak about, from a financial point of view, what products could be Spanish compliant bonds, etc. Michael will explain to us as well his experience with the 720. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Pedro. Pedro, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ignacio. I hope you can listen to me. And obviously, we are today with this Modelo 720. As it says, it is a Modelo, it's a form, an application form, and it is a tax form, but it is an informative declaration. First thing that we need to understand is this is just to inform tax office. It is not to pay taxes. Obviously, it is connected in some way with tax return. That's someone has to do it in this case in between April and June, and maybe the wealth tax if you live in a region in Spain that is compulsory the wealth tax. But this model, this application form 720, 720, it is an informative declaration. But on this informative declaration, there are really three informative declarations. One of them is showing bank accounts that you have abroad Spain, so not in Spain, any bank account that you have abroad that altogether are more than 50,000 euros, then you need to report it. Or another pillar will be the properties. If you have a property, even though you own 1% or even if you own 100%, it doesn't matter the percentage, you need to report that you have a property outside Spain, abroad Spain. Then we will speak about values and all these things. And also about if you have stocks, right, shares, I mean, it's insurance, that's another pillar. It is really three reports in one application form, which is Modelo 720. Each one of them is independent and autonomous in this way. If you just have bank accounts which are over 50,000 euros, then you need to report them, even though you may have a property where the acquisition value was less than 50,000 euros and you do not need to report it, then you will make a Modelo 720 just for the bank accounts, as an example. Okay, and so when someone has the obligation to report this Modelo 720, firstly, I mean, you need to obviously to have assets abroad Spain, or bank accounts, or properties, when I say properties, real estate, I mean, or stock shares, rights, life insurance, which is over 50,000 euros in each independent and autonomous pillar. If someone has that and has become resident in Spain, then the following year we have to report. Let's put an example. Imagine that someone started to be resident last year, 2022, and has spent more than 183 days in Spain from the period of 1st of January to 31st of December of 2022. If someone is on this scenario and has spent more than 183 days, then it is not just resident, it is also tax resident. With these circumstances, the following year, which is this year, 2023, will have to report this model of 720 in case that has assets in each pillar more than 50,000 euros. When does someone has to do that? Obviously, the following year, but from the 1st of January to 31st of March. Again, the same example, as I said, if you became resident last year and you spent more than 183 days, then right now is the time in order to report that. What if in 2022 you became resident in Spain, but you didn't spend more than 183 days, for example, because you were resident after the 1st of July and you just came up when it was less than 6 months, for example? Well, in that case, you are not tax resident. Then you will be resident probably in 2023, and then you will have to report that in 2024 again in the first 3 months of the year, from the 1st of January to 31st of March in this case. Okay. Well, some years ago we had this special threat about fines, which right now, if someone do not do it, obviously it's an obligation. I will be reported, and will be some, in this case, more fines. But it is something that is important to present and do it correctly at the end. Inform tax authorities about your assets abroad. As I said, if you own a property, for example, and the property is jointly, you have to report the value when you acquired it, but you have to say, for example, I own just 50% of the property, well, you will just report 50%. Or what if I sold the property? What if I became last year resident in Spain, but I sold it before the last quarter? Then that one will not have to be reported. There are some rules regarding the 720. We may have to answer some questions on that. But basically, it's just that. If you became resident and, well, last year you are tax resident, then this year you have to make Model 720, you have to make the tax return and maybe the wealth tax if your assets are over some specific amount, depending on the area that you live in Spain. So I think, Ignacio, to start, I think this is the information, and I would like to also to listen to Nicole and Jan, and obviously to Michael, and then we will start making questions and answers.
Okay, Pedro, thank you very much. As you said, these 720 applies for people who are resident, obviously, or who were resident in 2022. And for those who probably don't really know, is fiscal resident is more than 183 days. Obviously, sometimes clients come after July and stay here. There's a good way to keep it out of the picture. So you win tax year. So it's a good hint here for you to know. But yes, it's for those who were tax resident in 2022, and for those who probably were before and they need to update the 720. As Pedro said, 720 is just an informative. The fines were very big and very, I would say too much, too aggressive, right? So it was contested through the European Court of Justice, as Pedro said, and that big fines have been removed. But the 720 obligation worldwide asset declaration is still valid, and people still need to submit, right? I'm going to pass over to Michael if he wants to. Michael is an ex-honorary consul from the UK, obviously, ex-honorary consul in Spain. His main, one of the offices are in Marbella, and I'm sure he had a lot of issues with the 720 as well. I'm going to pass over to Michael, and then later on, John and Nicole could give us a little bit of what products are Spanish compliant bonds or not, and we'll just go straight back to the questions. Over to you, Michael. I think the microphone, Michael, is not working now.
I should know after all these webinars that we've done. Okay. Well, Ignacio's given a fantastic explanation. Pedro's done a fantastic explanation of the 720 form. There's not more to add on that. It's true, we're still receiving questions because of this a year ago, a year and a half ago, I can't remember now, when they declared part of the European Court of Justice, declared part of the 720 form illegal, and we all scouted around to see what we recommend our clients from that moment on. We in fact initially thought maybe didn't have to do the 720 form, and as I was saying to my clients, then we realized that we do have to do the 720 form, as you correctly actually indicated to me. I remember, because I was under the impression that in the end we were going to get out to do the 720 form, and Pedro said to me, no, I think we're going to have to do it, but it's going to be softened, and that's indeed what happened. So everyone, there's no doubt, everyone needs to do a 720 form. It's just that the penalties for not doing it correctly are no longer the same. Okay, so from the point of view of what I deal with, I deal mainly with inheritance matters. There is the 720 does have an effect on inheritance, because when a beneficiary is a resident of Spain, the beneficiary of an estate that we're handling is a resident of Spain, they've got to declare not only the assets they're receiving in Spain, but also the assets that they're receiving abroad. And what I would like to say about this is that some people, they decide when they're declaring their inheritance tax, they sort of forget or about declaring their assets that are in other countries. They've got to be careful, because if the person that deceased was filing a 720 form, the tax man already knows about those assets abroad, so they're going to be caught. So I think anyone that handles inheritance, when they ask their resident beneficiary client, what were their assets abroad, the question we always need to make to them is, did the deceased fill out a 720 form? Because if they filled in a 720 form, in reality, the solicitor really needs to see a copy, because there's no point in not declaring something that was actually declared on the 720 form. There's like sort of one exception to this, which I'm sure the financial advisor is going to talk about later, which has to do with the Spanish compliant bonds and the way that they're declared, not declared on the 720 form. So that's it. Just putting my little angle to it, which is the angle of the inheritance situation, because we have seen that happen. Okay, in other words, people go ahead, they declare their assets in Spain, they forget to declare the assets that their husband had abroad, and yet the husband had already declared those on the 720 form. The next thing we know, the beneficiary receives a letter from the tax man asking them, well, did they not receive those assets that were abroad, or maybe perhaps somebody else received them, which is a possibility, but basically they would get caught out. That's it, I think, from me. That's
okay, Michael, thank you very much. Please send in the chat, you could email your details, just in case people wants later on a video conference with yourself, even though if we don't have the time to answer to all their questions. Right, I've got an important question here, which I don't know if we cover, Pedro, is when do I need to submit it? They're asking. Well, obviously, this goes from the 1st of January to the 31st of March of every calendar year, right? So I will say to you, first question I will do, are you a tax resident in Spain for the year before? So let's talk about 2022. First question to the audience, are you a tax resident for 2022? If the answer is yes, because you've been more than 6 months and in a calendar year, then you need to review with your lawyer or accountant from the 1st of January to the 31st of March, all your assets that are over 50,000 euros. I may bring to attention here as well that when we talk about pensions, you need to think whether you're able to take that pension in a lump sum. I'm not saying it is a tax efficient pension for you to withdraw it, but what I'm saying is, if the question to the tax office is, are you able to get your private pension? If the answer is yes, then you should report it to the 720. Obviously, property, we're talking about purchase price, property that costs you over 50,000 euros at the purchase time. This is important for you to know. That's block number 2. And number 3 is the bank accounts, as Pedro stated, that altogether, or even you having a share on these accounts over 50,000 euros. Now, I'm going to pass over to John and Nicole. They are international financial advisor. They concentrate on wealth management, and especially in Spain. So they are looking after international clients. And we thought it would be good for them to bring, as Michael said, their angle, taking into account that 720 is compulsory, what kind of products they are familiar with, because there are a lot of international products that are Spanish compliant bonds, right? And I know that they offer these as well, sometimes to keep things simple, but that doesn't mean that you cannot have international assets or funds or investments without complying with the 720, and you do it yourself. Okay, so the fact of having Spanish compliant bond doesn't mean that you cannot have any other type of funds. Okay, one thing is whether that is interesting from a financial point of view, and a different thing is the tax efficiency. I'm going to pass over to John on the chat. I'm sharing with you the website with an article about 720 and a lot of questions and answers that you already have written down there from us with the answers in case people are interested to follow, and then later on we'll go to questions and answers. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Ignacio. Thank you for having us on the call. So my name is John Diking, and I'm joined here by my colleague, Nicole Sandler. Both of us have lived in Spain for many years, and we both work as private wealth managers for Chase Buchanan, which is an independent wealth management company. We got offices internationally, so not just in Spain. We are in Belgium, Cyprus, Portugal, Malta, UK, Canada, and the US. In Spain, we have offices in Tenerife, Heredia, and Marbella. So I'm based in Marbella. My colleague Nicole is in Heredia. I'd just like to tell you very briefly about who we are, and also for Nicole to explain a bit how we work with our clients in relation to Modelo 720. So what sets us apart from our competitors? So we are financial advisors. You can quite a few competitors in Spain who offer advice to expats. However, we are truly independent, and we are also transparent when it comes to fees. So we believe in treating people with respect and telling them what they pay for. We can help you by providing UK and Spain tax planning and investment advice and pension advice as well, to make sure that your money is working for you efficiently in Spain, fully compliantly, to give you grow that pension pot further, or to provide you tax efficient income in Spain. The structures that we use in Spain are fully compliant with Spanish and European regulations. So I'm going to pass over to Nicole. Nicole, could you please tell us why it's important for investors to ensure their investments are tax compliant in Spain?
Sure, thanks, John, and very good afternoon to everybody, and thanks for having us on the panel. Following on from John's explanation as to how we help clients, the investment solutions that we specialize in are always Spanish tax compliant, and this just means that they're approved and that they are liked by the Spanish tax authorities. And the way that these investments are structured, it helps individuals living here in Spain reduce their income tax, capital gains tax, wealth tax, and eventually Spanish succession tax, which is like inheritance tax here in Spain. So they're extremely tax efficient as residents of Spain. But besides the tax advantages, they're also very easy to report because they're Spanish tax compliant. So the investment provider will automatically report these policies to the tax authorities every year via another form. And that just means that you don't actually need to report these Spanish compliant bonds yourself on the Modelo 720. So it takes away the administration burden and the worry from you. And other investment policies would need to be reported on the 720. And if these sorts of investments aren't Spanish tax compliant, that means any growth would be subject to tax each year, regardless of whether you take any withdrawals or not. And the reporting on non-Spanish compliant policies is much more onerous. So if John or myself can help you understand anything further about perhaps your pensions or the investment structures that you currently have, or if you want to understand a lot more about Spanish compliance structures, please don't hesitate to contact us. But we're also very happy to help anybody who's watching this webinar with a complimentary financial review, given it's a very opportune time to do that sort of financial health check at the start of the year. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. As I said, I always recommend clients to find for independent advice, obviously independent legal advice, independent financial advice. And as you guys have mentioned, transparency, respect, and all these things. And you need to understand the products. And if you don't, you rely with your lawyer to speak about it. And if you're not sure, then obviously I recommend not signing. Obviously, we're going to go now back to the questions. I don't know if Pedro wants to start reading some of the questions, and then we could just start the colloquium here about our answers. Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, let's start with the questions. Well, I will just mention the name. Just for the first one, I'm just reading it right now from Eric. Thank you, Eric, for joining us and obviously to make a question. Thanks for doing this webinar. So on the 50,000 euros limit, it is per account. So if I have 500,000 euros account and a 40,000 euros account, do I declare both or only 500,000 euros account? No, you have to declare both of the bank accounts. Imagine that you have, let's put an example, 2 bank accounts, which each one of them is 30,000 euros. So at the end, total is 60,000 euros. But also that in that bank accounts, you own it jointly with your partner, with your spouse. Then we'll also be able, we'll have the obligation to declare it. And what if I have a bank account in €0? What if I have a bank account also in negative? It could be also that needs to be reported. Needs to be reported. Needs to be included in the declaration, the informative declaration. At the end, if altogether is more than 50,000 euros, you will have to report in the Modelo 720. Okay, let's read the following one by Peter. Thank you, Peter. And it says, we learned in a recent webinar that the non-resident tax benefits from the nomad visa also apply to European Union citizens, also, although they don't need this kind of visa. In that case, how should such individuals handle the 720 tax form? I do not, I mean, the 720 is not just for foreigners, it's also for Spanish. I mean, if, for example, I own a property in the UK or in the US, I have to report that. Actually, this kind of form was prepared in a period of time of a crisis that we have in Spain that was bringing a lot of money investment from Spain to outside. And tax office wanted all these companies and in most of the cases, Spanish residents to report those assets in order to connect it with the income tax that they may have on those times, some capital gains and all this. So 720 is a form, an informative form that needs to be done by the tax residents in Spain. General rule is you spend more than 183 days in Spain, and it doesn't matter if you are resident, it doesn't matter if you are European or a third country, obviously, or it doesn't matter if you are Spanish or not. Okay. And by Teresa, does the 186 days begin the date or official residency or the 1st of January? Well, what we say is 183 days. I mean, the natural year, as Ignacio said, from 1st of January to 31st of December. If you spend more than 183 days, then you are, this is a general rule, you are tax resident in Spain. What if you spend less than that and your main center of interest is in Spain, and you are not able to report that you have any tax certification or connection with any country? Obviously, even though you spend less, you will be connected to a Spanish tax office in that case. If someone is not understand or I have not been explaining very well, Peter or Teresa, please let me know and I will try to clarify. Ignacio, I don't know, well, I'm just reading the following questions by Stuart. What is the date of report for reporting? Obviously, there is, in this case that we are right now, from the 1st of January to 31st of March is the time in order to report this model of 720. And you need to include the values from last year, 31st of December, and the average of the last quarter, okay? So imagine, for example, you have a bank account, you will be able to report the average amount of that last quarter, as well as the amount on the 31st of December of last year. Okay. Ignacio, I don't know what you want to answer.
Probably there is a question about the exchange rate here, and I think we're using, normally you will use, I think there is a question here from the panel from Christopher. Christopher, the exchange rate the tax office use is a one on the 31st of December of previous year, so 31st of December 2022, and 1 euro is 0.8869 sterlings, and 1 euro is in dollars 1.0666. Okay, if that gives you just a guidance, because some of you might ask, I'm almost there with the 50,000 euros, for you to understand whether that applies to you or not. Okay, Pedro, let's move on, because we have hundreds of questions.
We didn't say, I don't know if it was said, I didn't listen it, but I didn't say it, is that imagine that someone became resident, let's say 2-3 years ago, or 4 years ago, and had the obligation to make the Modelo 720. And well, anytime will be able to be done, and do the 2018 or 19 or 20 or just one time, and then it's reported anytime. Maybe obviously would be receiving some fine, small fine we're talking about, but will be obviously peace of mind and legal and at the end reporting what is should be. But it doesn't matter if you became last year tax resident, obviously you had obligation, but what if you became before and you didn't do it because you were not informed, because you didn't know it? Well, you can do it anytime, really. Okay.
Michael, I don't know if you have any questions with regards from Marbella, from the 720, or you just take it from the board, from in the panel. Is there anything else you would like to point out, Michael?
No, not
okay?
Really.
Okay. John and Nicole, please feel free to interact if you consider that there is something that really needs clarification. Like Eric is saying here about insurance policy, Pedro. Well, the bottom line, as I said, if you could cash that money, I'll have to see what kind of insurance policy they've got. But if we're talking about money that you could withdraw, then you need to declare it. Okay. I don't know if you can see, Pedro, Eric is referring here to the insurance policy, but I don't know what kind of insurance policy he's saying. Okay. We are, yeah. Do you know, Pedro? Shall we move on?
I cannot see
sure.
that question.
It's in the very right. Let's move on then.
I'm just reading the chat. I mean, the questions are on the chat. I think the following one is by Bernie. Thank you, Bernie. It says that's the value of a property you have abroad. You have to declare is the price that you paid or the current value. When we say that, I mean, in this case, the property is the value of acquisition. Maybe you bought it, but maybe you receive it by inheritance, or maybe you receive a gift of that property. Also, the value of acquisition. At the end, this is connected with tax forms. At the end, tax office wants to know that that property that you had, because you bought it or because you inherited, because you are resident in Spain, in case that you sell it, you will obtain a capital gain. And at the end is to control a little bit more about if you report or not your income worldwide, as you have the obligation to repay your worldwide income according to the double taxation treaties. So at the end, what they want is you to, to inform them as much accurate as possible about the acquisition price in order to be able to calculate in the future in case that there is a selling of a property, well, to understand if the capital gains that you report in the tax form are correct or not.
Pedro, before you go on, Michael. Yeah.
This question that they're asking here, which is the insurance. If someone has a life insurance policy, does it have to be declared? Okay, so basically, I know what the answer is to that, because it depends. Because very often, what I think they're talking about is it's an investment that's in an insurance, a life insurance policy wrapper. Okay, so basically, the way Spain will treat that is as an investment. It has to be declared unless it's a Spanish compliant bond in an insurance wrapper, in which case it's already been declared to the Spanish tax authority. So, for example, if it's an investment product in the UK, but it has got a life insurance wrapper, which means that investment would pay to somebody specific if they pass away, then it has to be declared over here on the 720 form. If it's a Spanish compliant bond, which very often are basically an investment product in a life insurance wrapper, because as part of it being a Spanish compliant bond, it's already being declared in Spain, then it wouldn't have to be included. So if what this person has got is he's paying a premium of £1,000 a year, so that if he suddenly dies in a car accident, he receives £200,000, that would not need to be declared. But if it's an investment product, which is investing the money, and it basically has a life insurance wrapper that says that investment goes to somebody specific if he passes away, then that investment has to be declared in Spain, unless it's in a Spanish compliant bond.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And also, I mean, let me just add, in case that, for example, and it happens, and when someone dies, the acceptance of inheritance, the beneficiaries, it takes some time in order to declare, to accept the inheritance, and it passed this 31st of December, because sometimes it takes like 6 months, 1 year, maybe more. As we said in Spanish, is herencia yacente, which is when the beneficiaries has still not accept the inheritance. This also should be reported also according to the tax office rules and the criteria that they have. But yes, I agree with what you say, Michael. And
where I think the 720 form starts getting, and maybe you know the answer, but for me it's a grey area, is when, for example, somebody passes away and the funds go into trust, and it's not certain when do we consider that the funds are actually belong to the final beneficiaries, and when does it not belong to the final beneficiaries because it's in the trust? I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do for the best in those cases.
Well, that's a good question, Michael. One, because of the trust, I mean, obviously we are, I mean, I would say limited about the knowledge, because it's not, the trusts are really not recognized in Spain. But with the tax office, the criteria that they have is that whenever we can select a beneficiary, which is going to be the beneficiary according to the trust, that will have to be reported. But if it's something potential that may change, obviously will not have to be reported, because you will not know who is going to be the beneficiary really. At the end, those who are discretionary and could change in some way, that option shouldn't be included in the trust. Actually, there are some questions, and I think it's a public website about this, and it's not clear the answer. But my opinion is that if there is a clear way in order to select who are the beneficiaries on the trust, then that's compulsory. That's a potential. We know where they are, and they will be the beneficiary of the trust. But if it's not, then shouldn't be reported.
I think it may be. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, John. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, as we speak about trust, just to mention that if you were the settler of a trust, if you were the person who set it up, then you would need to declare it as your asset. So, Spanish tax authorities, they don't recognize trust. So if you were the one who set it up, they treat it as your asset. You got to declare it, even though there is a trust. It may be offshore in Malta or somewhere else, still your asset according to Spain.
I agree, because actually we had a few cases. Well, actually, what was one case with regards to trust, Michael, in, I think it was the Isle of Man. And actually, the UK really reports, it's not the same US than the UK. UK still reports, has fluent conversation with the tax office. And I remember seeing a case about a trust that was found out because the UK informed Spain, the beneficiaries here did not report it. And in the old crazy days, Michael, when they send these letters about fines, we didn't deal. I just saw it. It was, as you know, very delicate, and the inspectors went through it. Obviously, I'm sure this person did already contest it or claim for the fine back or whatever. But the bottom line is, I think it's important fulfilling the obligation, because doing tax planning is legal, is a possibility. And Michael, you always have the possibility of becoming non-resident in the future whenever you need to do anything else in the future. So at the end of the day, the bottom line with the trust, I think, should be reported. That's really my experience with the trust. I don't know if Pedro went through a different experience with trust.
Yeah, I mean, with the trust, obviously, as it says, John and Michael and yourself, I mean, it is not recognized under the Spanish law and the Spanish tax office. So this is why we need to try to recognize who are the potential beneficiaries. And this is what the criteria that at this time the tax office.
Yeah, the main problem is the trust that's being set up by the main problem is that the trust that gets created with the will, and where it's discretional, and we don't know who the beneficiaries are going to be or what percentage they're all going to receive. That's where the problem is.
Yeah, but in that case, I mean, as there is no way to know who is going to be really, and it's not a potential beneficiary. I think that I mean, my opinion shouldn't be included. Shouldn't be reported.
Until there is sentencing. Until there is certainty, Michael. Probably when there is certainty who's the beneficiary, then that beneficiary, if the beneficiary, Michael, is a resident in Spain or tax resident, because probably a beneficiary, as John was saying before, you have assets abroad and the beneficiary is abroad. So Spain, in that respect, doesn't have anything to do from inheritance tax point of view or from income tax point of view, because they are in the UK. So if the beneficiary of the trust, Michael, is in the UK, I think I wouldn't include it. I wouldn't include it. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's go. Let's move on. I think it's a following question. I'm reading it right now from Oliver. Thank you, Oliver. It's how to access the 720 form online. An NI number available but not support number. I mean, this is, you know, whenever we present this is with a digital certification, a digital where we are authorized to present these kind of forms, and it's done everything electronically. Okay.
Pedro, I have a question for you. With NOMA visa, right? So let's say some clients already are in the process of getting a NOMA visa, and they managed to get a NOMA visa. The tax, obviously, they have a privilege of paying only 24% during 5 years. We all wish we had it. And do they need to submit 720 in that respect, Pedro?
Well, that's a good question. And well, the NOMA visa, let's say that NOMA visa is applied for those who are citizens of third countries or non-European Union countries. That is the nomad visa. But also as well, it was introduced, this nomad visa has been changed in some way, some non-resident tax. So foreigners that want to come to Spain to work, or they will be able to change that instead of being treated as a regular resident for tax purposes as resident in Spain, could be able to choose like a special tax regime, as you say, this 24%, but not just that, will not have to report any other income in Spain. We just have to pay a flat fee of 24%, and not regarding capital gains or any other income or any other whatever. It will be just be salary or professional fees got during working in Spain, like this kind of teleworking or working remotely. Okay, well, that difference, visa nomad and then the tax benefit, but also could someone take a nomad visa and not taking this special regime and say, well, I want to be paying taxes accordingly on Spanish tax rules, because maybe the income is lower and it's better because we'll be paying less taxes. Let's think that 24% is a flat fee that is good and is benefit whenever you have a high income. But also, I understand it's good because in case that you get income from other situations, that will avoid, you will just pay 24% of your income that you have from employment or a profession. Okay, having said that, what does the tax office says about reporting or not? Because you are resident in Spain, but you are non-resident for tax group process, and accordingly, you are resident and you are really tax resident, and by you are getting the benefits as non-resident. Should I report it or not? We have an article which has been amended, and it says it is not an obligation. It was before, I mean, with the Beckham law, we call it Beckham law, this kind of law of benefit. It says it is not compulsory. It is not, do not have to report this informative declaration, even though it says that. And well, we are very reluctant on that. I mean, we sometimes think, well, it should be because it has some discrepancy of this. But having said that, my answer, maybe someone else will say different, but my answer, as the tax office has this criteria, why not follow this criteria? Maybe if there is no compulsory, and they say that, and I understand it. Well, why to do more what they expect? I know they're not to give more information that they should, but even though this information of this criteria that I'm saying is the tax office says and has its arguments also arguments against this, it is not binding. Maybe tomorrow the tax office says, oh, what we say no now is yes. This could happen also.
Pedro, I have one question here from Jeff, and I think it's quite important because I don't know, Michael, if in Marbella area you have a lot of American clients, but here we're having a lot of them, and they are concerned about the IRA and the Roth IRA. And the question is whether they should include in the 720. Obviously, Pedro, I don't know, but the answer is yes. I don't know if you came across or you want to comment something about it, because he wants to have our opinion. And it is quite frustrating that sometimes non-European are treated differently than Europeans. And these kind of pensions, Jeff, like the IRA, I mean, the IRA, if you are able to cash it in anytime, even though it's not tax efficient, but the question is, are you able to cash that IRA? If the answer is yes, then you need to comply with the 720. If you say, no, I cannot cash it until I'm 67, I'm still younger and I cannot touch it, then the answer is no. Roth IRA is like an investment, okay? And that really needs to be included. A different thing, obviously, is the unfortunate thing about the wealth tax with Pedro, with the wealth tax with the Roth IRA. But I'm hoping that as Michael in Andalusia and Madrid, they are not enjoying that wealth tax. I'm hoping and praying that next year it will be removed, Michael. So we could be at the same level.
Well, it looks like it's going to be eliminated. Wealth tax.
You don't want any more of your clients moving down and using us to purchase properties in Marbella.
Well, it's been announced, as Ignacio said, by the political party PP to eliminate wealth tax next year if they win in May.
Because at the moment we've got not just the wealth tax, but also the lower inheritance tax. So at the moment we've got a very good deal.
Tax mostly eliminated and also reduce the transmission tax. Well, let's see.
But Michael, Pedro, the problem, I mean, obviously that would be great. We remove the wealth tax, the inheritance tax going back to 99% like you have, reduce the transmission tax, which is transfer tax, but the solidarity tax, this is something that they still need from a central government to remove it.
Okay, yeah, we're getting lots and lots of calls about the solidarity tax. But in reality, not many people are affected. The first thing is that it may be declared unconstitutional. That's the first thing, but we don't know yet. So let's say that it does come into existence. It's only on people that have got assets of more than 3 million euro per person. So, I mean, literally non-residents would have to have a villa in Marbella of more than 6 million euro before it starts affecting them. I mean, there aren't that many. Unluckily for me, Unluckily for me, I haven't got a single client that's called me that's really got a concern over this tax, because at the end, they've heard about the solidarity tax, but in reality, you know, they need a villa of over 6 million euro, and over 6 million euro as a catastrophe value, because the market values are higher than the catastrophe value. So in reality, unless you've got realistically, unless you've got a 10 million euro market value villa in Marbella, you're probably not going to be subject to the solidarity tax, even if it's not declared unconstitutional. So that's sort of I think that I know it was going to be the equalizing tax so that you guys and our clients are not paying the same. But at the end of the day, wealth tax is some 700,000 euro, and this solidarity tax was about 3 million euro. It's I'm sure there are colleagues here in Marbella that have got loads of clients with properties above 10 million euro. Unfortunately, it's not our case, so we haven't got the problem.
Well, Michael, I bet if they remove in our area this wealth tax, which it was removed in 2011, and they remove, I'm pretty sure that the solidarity tax, well, obviously, if the government changed in national, that will be probably as well part of their policy, because it doesn't make sense they remove the autonomous communities and they keep it wouldn't make sense, would it?
No, I mean, my guess, if I had to make a guess, and being fair, just total guess bet, I mean, I think we're in 2 years' time at the most, we'll end up in a situation where you're going to have no inheritance tax like us, basically in practice, you know, for group 1 and 2 beneficiaries, that's spouse and descendants. You know, here the deal is up to €1 million tax free, and after that, you get 99% deduction. I think you'll be on the same thing. Then wealth tax, I think you're also going to have the same deal as we've got. And then I think that solidarity tax is either going to be declared unconstitutional because they're getting into taxes that should belong to the regions, or we'll have a change of government and they'll just eliminate it anyway. So I think in 2 years' time, this sort of advantage that we've got here in Andalusia is going to disappear completely. But in general, it's going to be really good to bring in investors from abroad or for all over Spain. So
thank you, Michael. Yeah, Eric is saying, what about 401k? And it's the same treatment, Eric. If you could cash it in, then you need to declare it, okay, on the 720. And so it's pretty much the same treatment.
Yeah, not just in the 720, also in the wealth tax.
The wealth tax. Yeah. Unfortunately, Pedro, the wealth tax, well, this is at the moment, we discussed with the normal visa, we weren't sure about, because for the normal visa, you are resident with a very well treated marginal rate at 24%. And, but you are considered fiscal residents, so technically you just have the benefits of a low tax. But generally, I think, Pedro, I don't know, the 720 will be
the arguments in favor or against each one of positions, I understand. Even though in tax office is really says that it shouldn't be reported, but it says there is no binding. And in my opinion, well, it needs to be checked every single case and take the situation accordingly and the risk in case in order to be able to be reported or not. But it's something that is a good question. It's a very good question.
Yeah, we've got a question here from Judith. She was asking Pedro if the value decrease, because that's a lot of questions we get. Is it necessary to file the 720?
No, it is just, if you say decrease, it is just when it's increased more than 20,000 euros. No?
And how much, Pedro, is the increase of every block?
20,000 euros, more than 20,000 euros.
Right. Okay, obviously, what I'm trying to say here that we're talking here today about general. Yeah, sorry.
We have a question from Terry. I can see that there's about selling boat, if you need to report it or not. And if the selling boat in this case is over 50,000 euros, you do not need. It's just the properties and bank account and the stock shares, life insurance. This is what we said before, investments, but not the sailboat, not the boat.
Right. Fernando's asking questions here as well. But I recommend in general, this is for general advice for a specific we could do a video conference and discuss it, because we need to be using, Fernando, we need to be discussing about different aspects. For example, what is a dual taxation treaty we should use in your case? If you're more in Mexico, for example, we'll need to look into Mexico, Spain, center of interest, Article 3 of the dual taxation treaties. So there are a lot of factors, and that's why I always recommend you to do tax planning. It's important, because you could do make decisions eventually as good as you think it is for you. Right, I hear, Pedro, do you answer the one from Gregory?
From, you said Gregory. Let me
Yeah.
ask. It says it's 50,000 euros on the December 31st or at any time during the year. Well, 31st of December, and as we said, the average of the last quarter. Okay. And the following question from Alfred. And it says, my wife and I have overseas bank accounts in our joint names. Can we file a joint 720 form, or must we file separate 720 forms? You need to do it separately, even though imagine that you have joint accounts, as you said, and it's different bank accounts, which all of them together is more than 50,000 euros, and you own each one of them 50% because you share it with your wife or husband, as you said. Well, each one of you needs to report exactly the same, even though you say the value of the account on 31st of December and the average amount of the last quarter is X amount, and then you say 50%, this is what you owe. That's all. Okay, and from Anna, what if I filled in Modelo 720 incorrectly? For example, I have reported an asset, but in an incorrect way, will I be fined? That's a good question. I mean, technically, yes. I mean, if that's something that has not been done properly, but if you have informed, and this is, you have already made the informative application, Model 720, I think this is very strange that you will be fined because you made a mistake on qualify, and in this case, the product. We will have to check what kind of mistake. I mean, if it's something very, let's say, soft or not. But I don't think you have already informed and you made a mistake on something simple. I don't think. Technically, yes, that's the answer. But well, you have already informed, you fulfill the requirements to do it, even though you did it incorrectly. If you do it with good faith or with bad faith, it's a different way also.
But Pedro, actually, you could be reporting the 720 by mistake.
Yeah,
in your
exactly.
income return. You did pay the tax, so there is no damage. Let's say the mistake I make is about the name of the product or whatever. And then I declare the income, so I pay the capital gain tax. So there is no damage. I did probably not inform properly about the type of product. I really could, I think it was Anne, the one who asked. I really think, Pedro, she could contest it if they ever send her a fine for 150 euros or whatever. Because it's incorrect. But I think as long as there is no damage to the revenue to Treasury here in Spain, I don't think just because of that, does really, it wouldn't make too much sense, would it? I mean, it's not hiding. It's not hiding. Okay.
Ignacio, we're run out of time. Let's rapidly answer. We have still a lot of questions right now. And thank you, Anna, in this case, if I have a private pension and the balance is more than 50,000 euros, but can't withdraw it as I don't meet the minimum age, do I need to report in Model 720? So the question is, you cannot withdraw it, you cannot. So in this case, no, you don't have to report it. Okay. By Teresa, thank you, Teresa. How are traditional IRAs in the US handled for the 720? Obviously, I think it's already mentioned by Ignacio, you have to report them about this kind of accounts. Ignacio, let's follow on with this one by Linda. This is, as we said about the boat, is do we have to declare precious metals like gold or silver And
20.
is there a difference between having the metals in a bank abroad or in Spain? There is no obligation to declare these assets. What we said, properties, bank accounts, and then stock, shares, insurance, investments, these three pillars that we said. Okay. Edward, thank you, Edward.
We did cover that.
If you know how are US traditional IRA accounts and Roth IRA accounts, I think that one was answered by you, Ignacio.
Yeah, that's I did already cover that.
Okay. Following one by
Tina.
Thank you, Tina. I don't know if it's this one. I mean, just reading rapidly. When I completed my 724 5 years ago, I had 3 bank accounts with very small amounts in them, around £1, £10, which I declared, which is correct. These bank accounts were closed last year. Do I need to submit 720 and again another 720 form this year? If I don't know, Ignacio, if you could answer them. In that time, it was the obligation to declare. Then you need to declare that you have cancelled. Obviously, I understand that at that time when you declare it, you had obligation because all the accounts together were more than 50,000 euros. Now, if it's cancelled, any bank account in this case, you will have to declare it. Okay, so Tina, we will be able to help you on this in this matter. Which one we have, Ignacio? I think is Dalina. Thank you, Dalina. It says, if I have several properties and each is below 50,000 euros, do I need to report them? Or I have one above and one below 50,000 euros? Yes, you need to. I mean, it's at the end altogether is more than 50,000 euros. You need to report them. Okay. Thank you, Dalina. I think we covered the 401k, the traditional IRA, the Roth IRA regarding the US. I don't know, Ignacio, you have more questions. I think we are running out of time.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time, and we did cover a lot of them. We have one from Brian. What about the UK SIP? Does the value of the fund need to be declared, or just any income that is taken from the SIP? The value of the fund will be the answer here, Brian. And I think Pedro would pretty much, cover most.
I think we have another question from. Let me just read.
The annuity. I don't know if annuity,
If I report the purchase value of a property, will this value be considered to wealth tax? For example, I think it's from Anna. Thank you, Anna. For example, the purchase price was 100,000 euros, but 50% is mortgage. I will only own 50% until I repay the mortgage. Okay, well, in the wealth tax, obviously will be reported in the model 720. This is if the acquisition price is more than 50,000 euros, needs to be reported. On wealth tax, obviously we include assets, but also we call it passivo, which is the debt on this case, in order to reduce and calculate the base of the wealth tax.
We're running out of time. I don't know if Michael, John, and Nicole would like to say anything before we just close it up. Anything else, Michael, we're missing? Obviously, there is so much information here to discuss, but we'll leave it for our next webinar, don't we? Do you want to add anything, John, Nicole?
No, thanks. That's it.
Okay.
Nothing further from me, but thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
If you could please, all of you, put in the chat your email address, and this just in case people wants to organize video conference or discuss it with you. We have one latest. Yeah, the latest one is from Jane. Do you need to declare cryptocurrency, please? The answer is no. Okay, right. I know we have a lot of questions.
Not this year, maybe next year.
You never know. You never know with the tax. Right. I'm gonna pass you on to one friend. We did create this system with Alexa. I know it doesn't cover everything, but just give a try. If you still have questions, just try with Alexa as well and see what she answers. Open our website and see. We did upload 100 questions and answers. And obviously, I did share with you a lot of information in the blog which we did personally there, questions and answers. If you need to organize an appointment with us through a video conference, bear in mind from the 1st of January to the 31st of March needs to be reported, and it's important to do tax planning. Thank you very much for your time, Michael, John, Nicole, Pedro. I'm going to pass you over to Juanfran, and then we're going to have a look to the sea and everything that we have here all around the office in Costa Blanca. Over to you, Juanfran. How to buy a house in Spain as a foreigner.
To buy a property in Spain in accordance with the legislation, the first step is to check the legal situation.
What taxes do foreigners pay in Spain?
In total, there are 5 Spanish taxes that every foreigner is obliged to pay. 1.
How are inheritances regulated in Spain?
Inheritance tax is a progressive tax.
Where to apply for the Golden Visa?
The first thing you should do is go to the Spanish consulate in the country where you live. There you can request all the necessary documentation to obtain it.
Maybe because I was born on the Mediterranean, I feel so connected to this sea, to this land, to this light. Because the Costa Blanca is my passion, it's my life, it's who I am. It defines me as a person and sets me apart from the rest. Yes, it's important not to forget who we are and where we come from. That helps us understand the meaning of our lives. By this sea I was born and grew up, laughed and cried too, the emotions of life. Our land is health and well-being, the joy of living, in our own way, in our own style, authentic. That's why so many artists come to the Costa Blanca looking for inspiration, to capture the essence, that light that defines our character. And not just artists. So many people come here and stay. The sky, the landscape, the rosy sunsets, the warm sand under your feet, the sea breeze on your skin, the mountains, and seeing the sea from the heights. I love to close my eyes, take a deep breath, and feel the sun on my eyelids. As if the light was inside me. I can't explain it. As my grandmother used to say, life is full of inexplicable things. You have to live them, feel them. I had to live in other parts of the world to really value what we have here. I have everything I need. My future is here. I've learned to enjoy the little things, the little pleasures in life. And we know a lot about those. There's nothing more authentic than feeling happy in the place where you were born. And however hard I try, I can't explain it in words. Costa Blanca, authentically ours.